Welcome back to the Nikki Clarke Radio Show on vrhotline.net, and it's a glorious day today. Thank you for listening. We are all about transforming lives one story at a time, and today we have another transformational story on the line, a woman who is doing great things in the community. She is known as a spiritual healer. Please welcome Jules Rafter to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for having me, Nikki. I'm doing well, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for taking the time out for us. And I just wanted to ask you, for people who are, not sure, they've just heard about what you do for the first time, can you describe what and who a spiritual leader is, or a spiritual healer, rather?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, I like to wrap them all up into one team of light workers is what I like to call them. So there's everything from being an intuitive, being a clairvoyant, psychic, healer, spiritual guidance, counselor. They all fall under the same realm of being, light workers. We're there to help and support and guide people while being connected to spirit and being connected to our guides. So that's basically how I like to sum it up as what I do. Now, I've been doing clairvoyant and mediumship for 22 years now. I've also worked as a healer, as in a Reiki. I do a Reiki master. I do energy healing, IET, crystal healing, and also any kind of spiritual guidance, people that are looking for their purpose, people that are looking for guidance from spirit. That's what I do. I'm sort of the go-between, the connector, if you'd like.
Okay. And how did you know that you had this gift? When did that happen?
Well, it actually started when I was a child. So when I was about 6 or 7 years old, I started seeing people, spirits, which at the time I didn't know were spirits, around me. And I was sure that these were friends. These were people that were here that everybody else could see as well. But eventually I figured out that I was the only one that could see them and or hear them. And I thought maybe I was a little crazy when I was younger because nobody else was. However, at one point I think about 7 years old, sitting in my room, playing on my bed with toys and whatnot. And I lifted my head and looked up, and there was a gentleman standing at the end of my bed looking at me and smiling. And I smiled back and kind of was a little taken back, like, why is there a gentleman standing right here? And he said, "Hello, my name is Matthew, and you can tell your mom that I'm okay." And I said, "Okay." And he also said, "You can also tell your grandmother that there is a red box under the bed with her ring that's in there." And I said, "Okay." And, being a child at that time, you don't really make much of it, saying, "Okay, whatever." Put my head back down and start playing. And as I looked up again, he was gone. And I got really scared all of a sudden that, something had been there and it was gone. So I yelled for my mom. My mom came running in and told her that there had been a gentleman standing in my room. And, of course, being a mom, she had to freak out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I explained to her who the gentleman, his name was Matthew, and I described what he looked like. And my mom became as white as a ghost. And she looked at me and she said, "That's my father. That's your grandfather." Now, my grandfather passed when I was 2 or 3, and I was about 7 years old. So I never really knew him. I was very young when he passed. So I had no idea who this gentleman was. But, and I told my mom, he said something about a red box under the granny's bed. So sure enough, my grandmother had been looking for her wedding band since my grandfather had passed. And so they went to my grandmother's, they looked into bed, and sure enough, there was this tiny little box there with her ring in it. And my mom kind of freaked out at that point and thought, "Oh my God, what have we gotten into here?" But eventually I got older and started to really develop my sense of intuition, where I started to get all these kind of like a gut feeling or a sense that, something's going to happen, or there's someone that's going to show up, or somebody's going to call. And it would be things as simple as I could be, and this is before we had that, call display on our phones. This is years ago. I'd be sitting in the kitchen and I'd look at my mom and I'd say, "The phone's going to ring," and it's Aunt Terry. And she'd just look at me, kind of laugh, and then about 30 seconds later, the phone would ring, and it would be my aunt. And it would be things like that I started doing. And then I realized that what I was picking up on, other people weren't picking up on. Like, these were things that just senses and a knowing, like an inner knowing of things about to happen, occurrences. And one of the really traumatic, I think I would say a traumatic thing that did happen is that when I was about 13, it really started to kick in full swing. And so if I was around a lot of people, I'd get, oh, sorry about that, that's my Great Dane. If I was around a lot of, yeah, oh yeah. She's always jumping in for her confirmation. But so yeah, I was about 13 and I had it full swing. It really started to come in. So if there were people around me, I could pick up on sensations. I could pick up on thoughts or insights and things around them. And I kept getting this pain in my chest when I would look at my girlfriend. And I said to her, I had this feeling that she needed to go home. I said, you need to go home. And she was looking at me like I was crazy and thought, why do I have to go home? We're sitting at the park. We're here with friends. I'm not going anywhere. So the sensation kept getting stronger and stronger. So finally I said to her, look, you need to go home. Come back if you want, but just go home and come back. So she left, but did not come back. So walked home. And as I walked home, there was we passed her house, and there was an ambulance in the driveway at her house. So just kept walking, went home. Didn't hear from her that night. She wasn't at school the next day. So finally I get home from school, and I call, what are you doing? What's going on? And her brother answered, and he told me that her mom had had a heart attack. And my friend went home, and her mom was lying on the kitchen floor. She had passed away from the heart attack. So that's what I was feeling. So she thought that I had done something to hurt her mom. So she blamed me. And at that point, I had no idea. At 13 years old, I don't know what this is, why I'm feeling it, why I'm sensing these things. It's awful. It's not fun. And I thought I had done something to this poor woman. I really did. So I kept yelling to Spirit and my guides and everyone, I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to see anything anymore. I wanted to block it out. So I tried to block it out. I tried, and try is the operative word here, because it is not easy. And by the time I was 19, it really was still there. I'd block it out. I'd try not to connect to it and ignore it. But it was always there, and it was the same thing. I had a life or death situation when I was 19, and it came flooding back, and sure enough, it was there, full swing. My intuition was on the ball. My insights, my messages that were coming through, all were really on point. And it was at that point, when I was in that life or death situation, that I kept hearing a voice that was saying to me, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And I kept listening to it, and it was calming me down. And sure enough, I overcome the incident, and I'm fine. And that was my confirmation. This is a gift. There's a reason why you have these abilities. There's a reason why you can do this. And so I started searching for people who were similar, who had these kinds of gifts, who had these kinds of abilities. And I was really, really lucky to connect with many different people who were either professional mediums or professional psychics, clairvoyants, healers. And I started to really develop by kind of having these people mentor me and having these people show me how to develop it, how to fine-tune my senses. And it became something that I was absolutely passionate about, because what I realized was, when used the right way, I was able to help people. I was able to guide them. I was even able to provide messages from their loved ones that had passed over. And that meant more to me to see someone's face light up and that I was helping them than anything else. And I think that's when I really realized that this is my calling. This is your passion. It's what you're supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. So, and it was life-changing, because to go from fearing this ability or thinking that it was a bad thing to having a completely different perspective on what it was I was able to do. And it wasn't until I connected with these people and they really encouraged me and helped me to develop. And it was phenomenal. It really is. And even today, I am so completely passionate and love what I do. I don't even feel that this is a job. I work 7 days a week because I love what I do. And this is a gift from Spirit. It's a gift from God. So
it is a gift from God, yes.
And if we have these abilities, I believe it's in our, we're supposed to be helping people. We're supposed to be connecting them with Spirit and the light. And that's sort of my purpose. And I am beyond blessed to be able to be living my purpose.
Absolutely. Wow, that's a wonderful story about your beginning and your awakening in your purpose, your divine purpose. So let's talk about the people who have come and have sought after you for help. Can you think of one particular time in which you helped someone and turned their life around?
Absolutely. I mean, I see thousands of people a year, and every one is a special and individual. But there's always some key sessions that really stand out. And one of them was I had this beautiful young woman who was about in her 30s that came to me looking like death had swarmed over her. She was completely hollow. I don't know if you've ever seen someone who's been through a trauma, who's been in pain, but there's this real hollowness about them, this emptiness, this void. And so when she came in, she looked very frail and very sad, and I knew there was something. But as she came in, I could see all these sparkles around her. And usually that means to me that there's spirit, that there's people who've passed over that are around. That's how it usually comes through until we start our session. So I had a feeling it had something to do with the loss of a loved one. And sure enough, we sat down, started the session, and I kept hearing tiny bubbles in the sky, and which meant nothing to me. And as a clairvoyant medium, any messages that come through, we don't analyze them, we just give them because they're meant for our clients or the person that's sitting in front of us, not for us. So I just finally said to her, I keep hearing tiny bubbles in the sky. Does this mean anything to you? And the woman burst into tears. And I thought, oh, my God, what have I said? I felt really bad. She literally lost it. So when she calmed down, she looked at me and she said, she explained to me that her husband and her son had been in a car accident and they were both killed. But a month before this accident, her son, who I believe was about 4 or 5 years old, was asking about, where people go when they die, because her father had died not long before, and he had questions about death. And he asked her, where do people go when they die? So she said to him, it's like blowing bubbles. Their spirit floats up to the sky. So tiny bubbles in the sky was a confirmation from her son, that he was well, that he had passed, that he was in the light. She said, if that was the only thing you said to me through the whole reading, she said, I would have been fine, because that's what I needed, was that confirmation that they're okay, that they have passed, that they're not suffering, that they're in a good place. And a sense of peace came over her face. She left here a completely different person. And we both sat here and cried together, and we really connected, and I had a lot of messages for her, from her husband, from her son. And she said that in itself was the most healing message she could have ever had. So for me, that was that sense of, yes, you're doing what you're supposed to do. This is how you're supposed to be helping people. You're supposed to help them heal on a spiritual level, on an emotional level, and also on a physical level. And it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. I was so blessed and so grateful to Spirit for, having been able to give these messages to her, because it gave her that sense of closure. It helped her to move forward. She was so stuck since they had passed that she couldn't function. And she messaged me about a week afterwards and said, for the first time in 6 months, I went outdoors and sat in the sun. She had been hibernating in the house with closed doors and closed blinds in the dark. And I thought, wow, it really, see, I'm even getting emotional about it, because she really, really touched me. And it touched me. I love the fact that I can help people this way.
Awesome. So that leads to my next question. You know, how have you been transformed by helping so many people?
Wow. I think it's given me this real appreciation for our humanness, for our raw emotions, for this appreciation for people and for humankind as a whole. Because what it's done is really connected me with this confirmation that we do have something more than just right here, right now. There is a heaven, if you want to call it heaven, or whatever you want to relate to, but there is a better dimension. There's a beautiful dimension where we pass on, our spirit passes on into the light. And that confirmation, I think, has really humbled me that we are supposed to do our best to help each other. And I think that's how it really shifted my focus to, instead of being focused on me and my needs, it shaped it into wanting to help others and help them with their needs or desires, and gave me a real sense of purpose.
I understand. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Do you often wonder, like, why you were chosen for this purpose?
I don't think I've really, when I was younger, I used to question why, because I felt it was a curse. But I don't think that anyone is chosen per se. We all have the ability to develop our sixth sense. And I like to compare it to an athlete. Everyone has the potential to become an athlete with training and putting time and effort into it. Now, our sixth sense, our intuition, is the same thing. Anyone can develop it. Anyone can, become more intuitive, can become more connected. However, there are certain people who have aptitudes, right, who are more geared to being an athlete or to being a specific way. So I think that the fact that I've always been very open, as in feeling like I was always connected to everything. Even when I was young, I'd go out in for a nature walk in the trails, and I felt like I was part of nature, of the air, of the trees, of the grass, everything. I really felt connected. So I think the fact that I have always had this openness about me, this I guess an inner knowing that there's a power, there's something there. I guess it opened the door to great candidate right here. She's, I'm not going to be going against the grain, but that she really does feel energy. I really felt that connection.
Awesome. Jules, it's just been so eye-opening for us, and helping us understand the spiritual dimension. And for me, as someone who loves God, I totally understand the spiritual part of our divine, day-to-day life. So I want to thank you for your wonderful sharing. And I know people listening would love to know more about who you are and how they can get in touch with you to be more spiritually enlightened. How can they do that?
Absolutely. So you can find me. My website is www.ohmreadings, which is OHM readings with an S.ca. Or you can also find me on Facebook under Jules Rafter, or Om Readings and Therapies. And you can also catch me on Skype. I have a lot of international clients all over the world that we connect with regularly. And you can look for Jules, Jewels, 1969A is my ID on Skype. You can add me there. There's also, you can catch me by email at omreadings@outlook.com.
And that's OHM Readings?
That's correct. OHM Readings.
Awesome. All right. Jules, thank you so much for your time. Is there something else that you'd like to share before we go?
No, the only other thing is I also have my own radio show on Beacon of Light Radio, and it's every Thursday evening at 7 p.m., and I do readings on air. We talk about different spiritual subjects, and the show is called Spiritual Soup.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on your radio show. and all the success that you have for 2017. I'm pretty sure that this is our year, and I just wish you all the abundance and prosperity you deserve. So thank you very much. God bless. You're listening to Jules Rafter on the Nikki Clarke Radio Show. And everyone, you have a wonderful evening. Thanks a lot, Jules. We'll talk soon.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.